Morning, guys. Today we are finishing part 2 of the notes. In lesson 1 we did radicals that were just square roots, and today we're going to do cube roots, fourth roots, fifth root. Some of the examples on here are quite easy, so I'm going to do a couple selected questions from 11.3 practice B, which will serve as your homework. I had already done questions 1 and 2, so I'm moving right to question number 3. We had covered these in the Zoom. So if you did watch the Zoom, then you can just watch again. The steps that I also wrote down were to isolate the radical, then to raise each to the power, and then to solve your equation, making sure that you remember to check. Okay, the check is not an optional thing. This is something that you must do to make sure that your answer is a good answer. So the first step that we're going to do is isolate, and I had again wrote these down, I'll just write them at the very top here. Isolate the variable or the radical, okay? Could be radical, could be a power, which we're going to do the power ones a little bit later. So this is what I'm trying to isolate. So just like your normal solving options here, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. Then the second step is different now. This is where we're going to get rid of the cube root. So we're going to do the reciprocal. So we're going to raise to the reciprocal. To both sides. And technically this cube root is the 1/3 power. So the reciprocal of 1/3 would be raising it to the 3rd power. Now you can rewrite these with the fractional exponent if you want. It's just a kind of an added step that we don't really need to do. Once you cube the cube root, the radical goes away, and then I'm just cubing -2, which is -8. Now, so step number 3 would be to solve. Okay, there's nothing to solve other than raising it to the power. The next step is going to be to check your answer. That is not optional. You have to make sure that you do that. With the cube roots and the odd roots, it's not going to be as big of a deal, but with the square roots for sure, because you can only take the square root of a positive number. So I am going to throw this check down here. So check -8, I'm plugging it back into my original equation. So the cube root of -8 is -2. Add 2 to 7, and it does equal 5. So yes, it does check out. Okay, the check is not optional, and I have to be able to see your check. No check, no bueno. Okay, so that was a cube root example. Again, these are fairly simple equations, just one step. Question number 5 down here in the middle. This again is my radical. This time is the 4th root, so what that really means is to the 1/4 power. So first I'm going to isolate that, so I'm going to subtract 2. The 4th root of x equals +1, not -1. And then I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal of the 1/4 is 4/1, so I'm raising it to the 4th power here. When you take the 4th power of the 4th root, they cancel each other out. And then 1 to the 4th power is just 1. Okay, now I'm going to do the check. Check, I'm going back into my original equation here. Plugging in 4th root of 1. 4th root of 1 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So it checks out. The check doesn't take you very long. And yes, you can use a calculator for that. However, you'll probably be taking more time to use the calculator than actually do the skill itself. Alright, we're going to go to the back side now. In the back side, I'm going to do number 12 because it has a cube root. All the other ones are different radicals. Number 12, I'm raising it. I don't have to isolate because it's already isolated on this. There's radical on the left, radical on the right, so I'm getting right to raising to the power. The reciprocal of the cube root is raising it to the 3rd power. When you do that, they cancel, so what's left underneath is x plus 4 and 2x minus 5. This time I actually have some solving to do. In number 3 and number 5 I didn't have a whole lot of solving to do. So now I'm solving for x. I have a two-sided equation here, so I'm just making it a one-sided equation. And then add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 9. Okay, so I'm going back into my original to check. X equals 9. Cube root of 9 plus 4 is the cube root of 13. Now, I don't know what the cube root of 13 is, but I don't really care what the cube root of 13 is because I need to just make sure that it checks out on the other side. I'm not actually simplifying this, I'm just making sure that it checks. 2 times 9 is 18, and then 18 minus 5. 18 minus 5 is 13. So the cube root of 13 equals the cube root of 13. That's a true statement. So there it checks out. Again, you don't have to evaluate that. That's not part of what you have to do. You just have to make sure that it checks out on both sides. Okay, those were 3 pretty easy questions. So now I'm going to get to a couple more complicated ones, and this is from your homework. And from your homework, it's 11.3 practice B. Okay, we're going to skip this 1 through 9 part. This is going to be the assignment that you guys are doing next Tuesday, so I'm not going to do questions 1 through 9. I'm going to stick to this middle section here, and then I'm going to stick to this end section here. We've already done all of the square root questions, so I'm not doing any of these square root questions. I'm just going to do a couple of the other types. I'm crossing all those out. Okay. So, again, I'm skipping 1 through 9. This is going to be your assignment come Tuesday. But for now, I'm just going to do cube root, fourth root, fifth root, and so on. So I'm going to do question number 10. I'm going to do question number 13. And I'm going to do question number 16 because each one of those has a different power in there. Cube root, fourth root, and fifth root. Okay, and then of course I'm going to check my answer when I'm done. So question number 10 is fourth root of 3x plus 5 equals 6. So again, step number 1, I'm isolating this. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to get the fourth root of 3x equals 1. I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal power of the fourth root is the fourth power. When I raise the fourth power to the fourth root, they cancel and I get 3x. 1 to the fourth power is 1. Now I'm solving for x at this point. So I'm dividing by 3 and I get x equals 1/3. Alright, now the check. So when I do the check, this is my answer for right now. When I do the check, I'm going back into my original equation, plugging in 1/3. So fourth root of 3 times 1/3. 3 times 1/3 is 1. Fourth root of 1 is 1. 1 plus 5 is definitely 6. So you guys have always wanted some easy addition and subtraction. So here is my check. It checks out because it's a nice positive answer in an even root, so all is well. Alright, next question, number 13. 13 is cube root of 2x plus 1 plus 2 equals 4. Alright, so again, I'm isolating my radical. So there's my radical. I'm subtracting 2. I'm going to get the cube root of 2x plus 1. I'm going to do my lovely subtraction over here, 4 minus 2. Now I'm at the step where I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal of the cube root is raising it to the third power. Cubing the cube root makes them cancel each other out, and I'm left with 2x plus 1 underneath. And then 2 to the third power on the right side is 8. Solve. Nice linear here, so I'm subtracting 1. Get 2x equals 7, and x equals 7 halves. Now you could write your answer as 3 1/2. That's equivalent to 7 over 2, but for right now I'm just going to leave it. I don't need to make more work for myself. Alright, last step, check my answer of 7 halves. Cube root of 2 times 7 halves plus 1 plus 2 out here equals 4. 2 times 7 halves is 7. Cube root of 7 plus 1. 7 plus 1 is 8. Cube root of 8 is 2. I'm going to add this other 2 hanging out here. 2 plus 2 is definitely 4. So there is my check. If you're using a calculator, you will definitely have to be very careful here, because if you type it all underneath and don't forget your radical to end, then you're not going to come out with the right answer. So be very careful. All right, last question that I'm going to do, question number 16. Question number 16 has a fifth root. And other than getting rid of the fifth root, nothing really changes with the process here. So isolate, raise it to the power, solve. Okay, so I'm going to isolate my fifth root, get rid of my plus 4 by subtracting 4. I get negative 1 on the right side. Fifth root 3 minus x on the left side. All right, I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal power. Reciprocal of the fifth root is the fifth power. Negative to a odd power is still going to be a negative number because I'm multiplying it a negative amount of times. I'm just dropping my radical here because the fifth root cancels the fifth power cancels the fifth root, and now I'm just solving. So I'm subtracting 3 from both sides. I have a negative x, and I don't want to solve for negative x, so I'm just going to divide by negative 1 because technically there's a negative 1 there. And negative divided by negative equals a positive 4. All right, let's check. Going back to my original equation, plugging in 4. Fifth root of 3 minus 4. Fifth root of 3 minus 4 is the fifth root of negative 1. You can take an odd root of a negative number because it's a negative number multiplied an odd amount of times. So the fifth root of negative 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. So this also checks out. Most of these will check out, especially with the odd roots. So there are 3 additional examples for you guys from the homework. Good luck to you. If you have questions, email me. Just don't email me on Friday or Monday because I am going on vacation and I'm going to enjoy myself. So your assignment, 11.3 practice B, day 2, is going to be questions 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 21, and I think that's good. And I had already done 3 of them for you, so you can kind of mark those off as you do them. Have a great weekend, enjoy, and stay safe.